Evening, everybody. Just out in the garage and not enjoying the fact that I'm smelling a garbage fire. They're not permitted here, and it's not fair. What we know about burning garbage now is ridiculous. I can't believe people are still even attempting it. And I'm sorry, if you can't afford the disposal bill we pay here, it's like $23 a month. I'll lay it out there. How lame are you? Really? You know, you'd rather expose your family and your neighbors to toxins and carcinogens rather than pay a company $23 to come and pick up your nasty garbage. We get to smell it. I know of 3 people on this block that have COPD, and there are cancer survivors here too. It's not fair. That's my first rant. But I'm here for a reason. I encountered an issue today with West End Schools management. I will call it as I see it now. This is getting ridiculous. Okay, so I'm listening to my wife. She calls in. She leaves a message, and I'll be darned if the superintendent didn't call back. I was kind of surprised. He's not real good at that. He really isn't. So, and I really don't appreciate it. He's been treating us quite distantly, and honestly, until that state official got involved, he would blow us off like a bad habit. And I'm afraid that's what was happening so far. Bear with me. Fire truck's out looking for the garbage fire that we called in. It's somewhere around here on the west end of town. At any rate, so he calls her back and he hits her with, okay, we've been, Sherry asked, one of her questions was, she reported that when asked when the alleged barrier fence that is supposed to be put in the property out there will be constructed. We're getting back to this because we know we've been told a lie. It's been well over a couple weeks since I've really filmed any thoughts on this. But it was, I just hope that, I can't even call the guy by name. I have zero respect for the man because he lies. He lies consistently. Every story that comes out of his mouth is just irrefutably disregarded and very easy to prove as wrong. This morning he starts in that we're very sorry, we've had a school emergency. There is asbestos in the high school. Dun, dun, dun. So they're urgently talking to abatement teams and blah-de-blah-de-blah. What does this have to do with your illegal bus garage? About 5 minutes of it. Just this fantastic story about the local high school had been built with asbestos and this and that and all that, but I'm not going to lie. One of the reasons why the old high school, which is sitting constructed where Hoodinite or Mormon extremists were trying to grow CPD product and develop it, and it failed. They're no longer in the building, from what I understand. And they want to sell the old combined high school, junior high that used to exist in Nuclear. The kids went to the elementary here in Naturita, and then, but that was replaced in about the year 2000, from my understanding, built in 1999. I know for God's fact, asbestos was not allowed to be used in modern construction in 1999. Now, it may be in the one existing shop building that they've been using for ag classes, because that's quite the old building from an old operation or whatever, but there is nothing in there that dictates that they're dealing with asbestos. If the asbestos is in the shop garage, couldn't be in a nicer place, and don't you think it's time to shut it down and move those buses up the hill to the mesa where they can be monitored at the county lot and supervised properly, or even parked on school property and maintained with a locked door out in a parking lot, and the drivers keep their keys? Norwood drivers don't do these warm-ups, by the way. They started to film their process, and Naturita is doing this all wrong. I also learned that the boss is an ex-county commissioner for Dolores County. You know who's best at hiding money and engineering the books? Ex-commissioners. People in charge of responsibilities and finances when they shouldn't be. And it sure isn't convenient how he's owned planes, has skydived, has done a number of things that you, me, or any other person could not possibly afford to do. without having all of these incomes, being able to fly back and forth in a private plane. Just the insurance on flight insurance alone, I just can't fathom it. It's not something I could ever consider, literally. I could never fly, except for what I do in drones, because the insurance prices you out. Yet the bus mechanic managed to pay that. Okay, I find that very convenient. I'm an ex-auditor. Running a little long with this one. So the first lie that we got from the superintendent was the asbestos emergency, and this has caused delays in their plans. And then he asked my wife, like with this genuine level of concern, right? He asked her, how have their activities been? And I told Sherry, I said, they idled for 30 minutes this morning. I know they did. They started at about 5:45. They don't run the gamut or go anywhere until like 6:30. I couldn't understand why they're going so long, but I was just too tired with my illnesses and stuff and catching up on my sleep from them to get up and film it. I won't make that, like I've said in other movies, I'm not going to make that mistake again. I'm filming everything now. I'm done with this. I also have footage that they don't know about yet that's going to kind of catch them on logging extra hours on Sunday too, because I'm sure they're snow fencing their paychecks. Anyway, so he tells the wife that about this alleged asbestos emergency in a building that was built around the year 2000. We're supposed to believe that. And this is affecting and delaying the construction of a fence. How would a fence contractor, and what would a fence contractor want anything to do with asbestos abatement or constructing a school? They're not masons. They're fence liggers. And if this alleged fence is going to be built yet, why is it that we still can't find any record of funding for this through the city? You know, if that can be provided to us, I know we don't really exactly keep up on the board meetings, but from our understanding of it, any fence work has to be paid for by the city, because even though that's being used by the school, that's still technically Naturita property, the city. So how are you working that, sir? So it's just, by the time he got to asking about what they did and so on and so forth, he tells us, you know, they said to agree to 15 minutes of prep time. It's whoever agreed to 15 minutes on our end. That's all I want to know. Where is it in any form of documentations, any of my videos, whoever ever said 15 minutes would be an acceptable compromise? Why would I compromise on somebody breaking the law? It just doesn't make any sense. The state law is 5 minutes. The average temperature at night is roughly 45 degrees. We're not even freezing. We're actually quite warm for this time of the year, even though the winds keep blowing and we've got this high pressure system over us. When that moves on, we're going to go back to hot weather. If we get another freeze incident, I'll be shocked. But you know, it's the mountains, you never know. But to sit here and say things like this, how dumb do you think we are? This is exactly what I mean. So this is why I haven't been filming for a couple weeks and took a break. I took time to go see family. I did a few films here and there on it and had to express some opinions. But largely I've been keeping to myself. I've been seeing the environment on the weekends. I've been staying away from here in the afternoons because I'm sick of it. Nobody ever does anything. And then when we do call to check up on it, we let it go for a while. And sure enough, here comes the corruption. So I haven't reviewed the idols yet, but they definitely were babysitting children. 3 of them. The driver for bus number 2. I'm amazed they fixed the headlight. To conclude, I'm starting to find the behavior of particularly the superintendent to be extremely patronizing. Leroy and Ernie, the 2 guys that are working there, has at least had the courage to cuss at us and even flex stupid shoulders at my wife and act like asses and be confrontational, express who they really are. They've never really lied about who they are. They're non-concerned. Wow, they brought out the whole fire department for their garbage fire. That's amazing. Anyway, they're non-concerned. They've blown us off. They assumed we rent this property. They just found out this year we're owners. So this is what we deal with. And now we're dealing with, quite frankly, the uppermost level of management we could have in a school district here being a complete bullshitter. You're going to insult our intelligence with stories about this. And, you know, I just have to wonder if in person, if with a person with a master's degree, if he's going to assume that flies. And if he assumes that I'm not able to detect when I'm being bullshitted in a negotiation, if he wants to really test me on that, or test my experience as a forensic auditor, much of which is based on human behavior. And I'm starting to begin to think that the waste that is committed in this garage area, it's not only knowledge to management, it's endorsed. And I just feel sad for those people whose children are grown, who no longer have commitments to the school, yet pay their taxes. How every year our taxes rise 30% since we've owned the property. And this is what for? So people can be lied to, bullshitted, told lies, asbestos abatement in a building that was built in 2020. Yeah, I'd buy that. Not. I don't care what goes on at the new school other than an area being developed to move these buses to, and a real form of supervision being placed on those people who are snow fenced into a fraudulent arrangement, to the point where they think it's okay to bring children on a bus route when they're responsible for the delivery and safety of other people's children, paid by our school district and our county to conduct these tasks. If they take it upon themselves to introduce a new element of care of children that are quite young, to ride an entire route. A couple of them didn't look of age to be on that route that late. They looked to be kindergarten or less and should be home at noon. They appear to be hanging out with Grandma as she completes her work. And we're paying for that. I'm not good with that. That to me is low-level corruption. This is fraud. And the money that can be saved by people not working these dreamed up hours and truly driving their 20-minute long routes and finishing them twice a day with a 5-minute start time. But that only means they would make 5 hours of pay a week in part-time work. Why are you paying them for their startup and maintenance crap? Ernie doesn't. Again, low-level corruption. And at this point, and really, we asked for help from a local representative. We're going to have to shop out, I think. We received no response. For Miss Sarah, I'm a little disappointed that you didn't even reply to a local about possibly getting information on a bankruptcy, and you didn't even afford me that. And then I read that you're from here. Oh. So you're not going to attack the school system that trained you. I get it. And you may even have family on that driver force. Nice touch. This is also a form of corruption. I can't get legal representation when the law is being broken and we are victim to it. And my wife suffers from COPD, and I fall asleep every night listening to an oxygen separator, watching my wife on her CPAP machine, combined with oxygen, by the way. She's on oxygen technically 12 to 13 hours a day with her sleep patterns. This is what I endure. As buses regularly warm up on 50 feet from my back door, violating state law, and have done so for the last 6 years. And not one person has even approached us from this management entity about damages. So I'll shop in Denver. I'm out. Have a good night. I'm back. I have 7 to 8 weeks of evidence collection time afforded to me. I'm getting real creative, people. You're not even going to be knowing I'm there. I have all sorts of new equipment, and I'll be catching shots of you committing your fraud regularly from angles you don't even know exist. You're going to want that fence to be about 40 feet high by the time I'm done with you. Have a pleasant evening. Bye.